Dear English literature learners, my today's topic is Renaissance, Elizabethan, Jacobean, and Puritan Age, 1558 to 1660, Part A. Brief questions with answers. This part consists of 3 videos, so watch all the 3 videos to have a complete idea on the topic. Elizabethan Age, 1558 to 1603. Question 52. Who is Robert Greene? Answer. Robert Greene was one of the university wits. His well-known plays include the comical histories of Alphonse, King of Aragon, etc. Question 53. Who is George Peele? Answer. George Peele was a university wit. His dramatic works include The Arraignment of Paris, A Pastoral, The Old Wives' Tale, The Battle of Alcazar, etc. Question 54. Who is Thomas Lodge? Answer. Thomas Lodge was a university wit, though not so famous like Greene or Kidd. Only 2 of his plays survived, the ones of the Civil War and Looking Glass for London and England. Question 55. Who is Thomas Nash? Answer. Thomas Nash was also a university wit, but he has no creditable achievement as a dramatist. There is only one known play from him, Summer's Last Will and Testament. Question 56. How many successive periods are there in Shakespeare's creative career? What are they? Answer. Shakespeare's creative career as a dramatist can be divided into 4 successive periods. These are the first period, 1588 to 1595, the second period, 1595 to 1601, the third period, 1601 to 1608, and the fourth period, 1608 to 1612. Question 57. What important plays did Shakespeare write during the first period? Answer. The plays written by Shakespeare during the first period of his career are Henry IV, Richard III, Richard II, Titus Andronicus, Comedy of Errors, Love's Labour's Lost, The Gentleman of Verona, and A Midsummer Night's Dream. Question 58. What are the plays of Shakespeare written during the second period of his career? Answer. The plays written by Shakespeare during the second period of his career are The Taming of the Shrew, The Merry Wives of Windsor, Much Ado About Nothing, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, The Merchant of Venice, King John, and Henry V. Question 59. What are the plays of Shakespeare written during the third period of his dramatic career? The plays written by Shakespeare during the third period of his career are All's Well That Ends Well, Troilus and Cressida, Measure for Measure, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, Julius Caesar, and Timon of Athens. Question 60. What are the plays of Shakespeare written during the fourth period of his dramatic career? Answer. The plays written by Shakespeare during the fourth or last period of his dramatic career are Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, Pericles, Cymbeline, A Winter's Tale, The Tempest, and Mary 8. Question 61. Mention some of the post-Shakespearean dramatists. There are several great names after Shakespeare of the English stage. They are Ben Jonson, George Chapman, Beaumont, Fletcher, Webster, Middleton, Hewd, Turner, Ford, Shirley, etc. Question 62. Who is Ben Jonson? Answer. Ben Jonson was one of Shakespeare's contemporaries and certainly one of the most towering figures in the English drama. His most famous plays are Everyman in His Humour, Everyman Out of His Humour, Volpone on the Fox, The Poetaster, etc. Question 63. Mention comedies of Ben Jonson. The most remarkable comedies of Ben Jonson are Volpone or the Fox, Epicon or The Silent Woman, Alchemist, Bartholomew Friar, Tale of Tav, The Magnetic Lady, Everyman in His Humour, Everyman Out of His Humour, etc. Question 64. What are the tragedies of Ben Jonson? Answer. Ben Jonson wrote 2 historical tragedies. These are Sejanus, his Paul and Catiline, his Conspiracy. Both of them were written on the classical model of Greece. Question 65. Name some of the masks written by Ben Jonson. The masks written by Ben Jonson are the mask of Beauty, the mask of Queen, and the Satyr, the mask of Blackness, etc. Question 66. Who is George Chapman? Answer. George Chapman was a classical scholar and followed the principles of classical drama. He wrote both tragedies and comedies. Among his tragedies, Busy D. Amboise, The Revenge of Busy D. Amboise, The Conspiracy and Tragedy of Charles, etc. The Widow's Tears, Mayday, The Gentleman Usher are some of his comedies. Question 67. Who were Beaumont and Fletcher? Answer. Francis Beaumont and John Fletcher were the twin dramatists of much repute. They were the early successors of Shakespeare. Their tragedies included the Maid Tragedy and A King and No King. Their comedy was The Night of the Burning Pestle, and the tragic comedy was Philoster. Question 68. What are the plays written by Marston? Answer. Marston was mainly a tragedian and followed the pattern of Senecan School. His two tragedies were Antonio and Melinda and Antony's Revenge. His only comedy was Stuart Hall. Question 69. Who is Thomas Dicker? Answer. Thomas Dicker was a post-Shakespearean dramatist, and his two great plays are The Shoemaker's Holiday and The Honest Whore. Question 70. Why is John Webster famous for? Answer. John Webster is considered the greatest post-Shakespearean dramatist. He was gifted with both dramatic craftsmanship and poetical excellence. His two great tragedies are The White Devil and The Tragedy of Duchess of Malfi. Question 71. Who is John Heward? Answer. John Heward was a post-Shakespearean dramatist, and his best plays are A Woman Killed with Kindness, The English Traveller, The Fairy Maid of the West. Question 72. Who was Thomas Middleton? Thomas Middleton was a voluminous post-Shakespearean dramatist. He was famous for his plays A Fairy Quarrel, The Challenging, The Mayor of Queenborough, The Witch, The Spanish Gypsy, etc. Question 73. What are the plays written by Cyril Tourneur? Cyril Tourneur is the author of two horror tragedies, The Atheist Tragedy and The Revenger's Tragedy, which are packed with the excesses of the romantic tragedy. Question 74. Who is Philip Massiner? Philip Massiner was a post-Shakespearean dramatist, and his remarkable plays are The Unnatural Combat, The Duke of Milan, The Roman Actor, A New Way to Pay Old Debts, The City Madam, etc. Question 75. Who is John Ford? Answer. John Ford was a post-Shakespearean dramatist. His notable plays are Tis Pity, She is a Whore, The Broken Heart, The Fairy Night, The Lover's Melancholy, and The Love's Sacrifice. Question 76. Who is James Shirley? Answer. James Shirley was the last great figure among the post-Shakespearean dramatists. He had two great tragedies, The Traitor and The Carnival. He had a number of comedies such as Love Tricks, Hyde Park, The Wedding, etc. Question 77. Mention some of the comedies of Shakespeare. Answers. Shakespeare wrote a number of comedies. Some of them are Comedy of Errors, The Taming of the Shrew, The Merry Wives of Windsor, Much Ado About Nothing, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, etc. Question 78. Mention some tragedies of Shakespeare. Answer. Shakespeare wrote a number of tragedies. Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth are called the four great tragedies of Shakespeare. Julius Caesar, Timon of Athens, etc. are also Shakespeare's tragedies. Question 79. What are the tragicomedies of Shakespeare? Answer. Among the Shakespearean tragicomedies, Much Ado About Nothing, All's Well That Ends Well, The Merchant of Venice, Measure for Measure are most remarkable. Question 80. What are the history plays of Shakespeare? Answer. Some of the history plays of Shakespeare are Henry VI, Richard III, Richard II, Henry IV, Henry V, King John, Henry VIII, etc. Question 81. What is the last play of Shakespeare? Answer. The Tempest is the last play of Shakespeare. It is a tragic comedy. Question 82. Mention some of the revenge plays. Answer. Some of the remarkable revenge plays in English literature are the Spanish Tragedy by Thomas Kyd, The Jew of Malta by Christopher Marlowe, Hamlet by Shakespeare, The Duchess of Malfi by Webster, The Revenge of Buzzy D. Amboise by Chapman, etc. Question 83. What do you mean by comedy of humor? Answer. The comedy of humor as a concept by Ben Jonson has its basis on the medieval concept of humor. The Johnsonian comedy of humor has certain typical features which differentiate it from other comedies. Question 84. Mention some of the comedies of humor. Some of the comedies of humor of Ben Jonson are Every Man in His Humor, Every Man Out of His Humor, Paul Bunny, or The Fox, The Poetaster, The Alchemist, etc. Question 89. What is Gammer Gordon's Needle? Answer. Gammer Gordon's Needle was one of the earliest comedies in English literature. The authorship of the play is ascribed to some John Steele. The play has a classical background. It has an effective comedy and was published in 1553. Question 90. What is Dr. Faustus? Answer. Dr. Faustus is an Elizabethan tragedy written by Christopher Marlowe. The play remains the greatest tragedy outside Shakespeare's great tragic plays. Question 91. What is Duchess of Malfi? Answer. The Duchess of Malfi is one of the greatest tragedies of John Webster during the Jacobean period. It is very close to Shakespeare's revenge plays. It is regarded as the most successful revenge tragedy of Jacobean period. Question 92. What is Every Man in His Humor? Answer. Every Man in His Humor by Ben Jonson is a notable name in the Elizabethan drama. It is based on the classical Italian comedy of Terence. It is the first English comedy of humor. Question 93. What is Philaster? Answer. Philaster is a tragic comedy written jointly by Francis Beaumont and John Fletcher. It is the first play to bring the two authors into notice and even eminence in the history of English drama. It is purely a romantic play. Question 94. What do you mean by tragic comedy? Answer. Tragic comedy is the mingling of the seriousness of tragedy and pleasantry of comedy. It is both tragedy and comedy padded together into one new form. Question 95. What is Euphues? Answer. Euphues, The Anatomy of Wit, is a prose romance of the Elizabethan period by John Lyly. It is a normal and satiric tone. It is remarkable for its prose style, which is known as Euphuism. Question 96 mentions some religious prose works of the Elizabethan period. The important religious prose works of the Elizabethan period are the laws of ecclesiastical polity, authorized portion of the Bible, etc. Question 97 mentions some secular and serious prose works of the Elizabethan period. The secular and serious prose literature is found rich in philosophical and moral speculations and forceful ideas during the Elizabethan period. We get the essays as advancement of learning and New Atlantis of Francis Bacon. Question 98. What are the chronicles of Elizabethan period? Answer. Elizabethan prose includes several chronicles representing England, the antiquity of English race. The first of the chronicles is the Chronicle of Edward Hall. The second is Holyshed's Chronicles of England, Scotland, Ireland. The Chronicles of John Stoye, Description of England by William Harrison, are also important. To be continued.